The Buffalo Bills are building a $1.7 billion stadium, and 3 NFL owners are absolutely furious about it. Because buried in this project is a blueprint that could destroy the way the league has operated for 50 years. This isn't just about Buffalo. This is about survival, and somebody is about to lose everything. Picture this. January 15th, 2023, -6 degrees. Bills versus Dolphins. Divisional round, Mark Stevenson sits in section 118, row 12, seat 7. Same seat he's had for 34 years. He's wearing 3 layers. His hands are numb. He can barely feel his feet. The Bills score. 80,000 people explode. Mark hugs a complete stranger. Tears freeze on his face. This is what it means to be Bills Mafia. But 3 months later, Mark gets a letter. His season tickets are being relocated. The new stadium doesn't have section 1 and 18. His seat, the seat where he watched Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, and now Josh Allen, doesn't exist anymore. New seats in the new stadium? $8,500 per seat per year. Mark paid $800 in 1989. He makes $62,000 a year as a high school teacher. He can't afford it. And when a local reporter asked him about it, he broke down crying on camera, said he didn't know what he'd do on Sundays anymore. That interview has 4 million views. Because this is the real story of the $1.7 billion Buffalo Bills Stadium. It's not just about luxury suites and LED screens. It's about who gets left behind when a small market team tries to compete with billionaires. And it's about to get a whole lot messier. Let me take you back to where this actually started. March 2022, a closed-door meeting in Albany. Governor Kathy Hochul, Bills ownership, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell on speakerphone. The message was simple: make the deal or lose the team. The Bills owners, Terry and Kim Pegula, had the leverage. Their lease expired in 2023. They could move anywhere they wanted, and they had options. Austin, Texas had been courting them for 2 years. Brand new market, no state income tax. Jerry Jones personally lobbying, a stadium deal ready to sign. San Antonio was offering a $1 billion stadium publicly funded, no questions asked. Even Toronto was in the mix, Canada's largest city, 90 minutes from Buffalo, dying for an NFL team. The threat was real. So, Governor Hochul did something unprecedented. She pushed through an $850 million public subsidy in 11 days. Not 11 months, 11 days. For context, that's the largest public stadium subsidy in American history. More than Las Vegas gave the Raiders. More than LA gave the Rams and Chargers combined on a per-team basis. And 64% of New Yorkers opposed it. Her opponent in the election called it corporate welfare for billionaires who could easily afford to pay for it themselves. He was right. Terry Pegula is worth $5.8 billion. He could write a check for the entire stadium and still be a billionaire. But here's what nobody understood at the time. This wasn't about the Bills. This was about the NFL testing a new model, a model that would change everything for small market teams. And some owners absolutely hate it. Let me explain what $1.7 billion actually buys you. 62,000 seats, smaller than the current 70,000 capacity stadium. And that's the genius move that nobody saw coming. See, the NFL learned something from the NBA. Scarcity creates value. When you have 70,000 seats, tickets are available, supply meets demand, prices stay reasonable. When you have 62,000 seats in a city of die-hard fans, tickets become impossible to get. Prices explode. Secondary market goes insane. The Bills project that average ticket prices will increase by 87%. Not because the stadium is better, because there are fewer seats. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. 250 luxury suites. Not the old-school boxes. Full service, floor-to-ceiling glass, restaurant-quality suites with personal attendants and private chefs. Cost? Between $1 and $3 million per year. Not total. Per year. And they sold out in 48 hours. But here's the detail that nobody reported. 70% were purchased by Canadian companies. Not American, Canadian. Because Toronto is 90 minutes away. A city of 3 million people with no NFL team. A city that's been desperate for professional football for 30 years. The Bills just became Toronto's team without actually moving. They're pulling season ticket holders, corporate sponsors, and luxury revenue from a massive Canadian market while staying in Buffalo. It's brilliant, and it's making other small market teams pay attention. But it gets even crazier with the technology package. $200 million just for tech. LED boards bigger than some teams' entire video budgets. Sound systems with 360-degree audio. Wi-Fi that handles 62,000 simultaneous connections. But buried in the construction specs, there's something interesting. The stadium is pre-wired for holographic projection, technology that doesn't doesn't commercially exist yet for sports venues. Why? Because they're building for 2050, not 2026. The infrastructure includes conduit for tech upgrades we can't even imagine, virtual reality sections, AI-powered instant replay from any angle, augmented reality overlays. Whatever comes next, this building can handle it. And here's the timeline that's absolutely insane. Construction starts June 2023, opening day August 2026. 38 months to build a $1.7 billion stadium in Buffalo, where it snows 7 feet per year. The construction contract has a penalty clause. If they're not done by August 1st, 2026, the contractor pays $1 million per day in penalties. That's $30 million per month if they're late. We're talking about building during Buffalo winters, where temperatures hit -20, where you can't pour concrete for 4 months of the year. The logistics are absolutely insane. They're working 24-hour shifts, heated construction bubbles, premium pay for winter work. Because the NFL wants this done, the league has already scheduled Buffalo for multiple primetime games in 2026. They're planning a potential playoff game showcase, maybe even a Super Bowl bid within 5 years. But here's what makes this even more interesting. The stadium deal included something that nobody noticed until a journalist found it on page 847 of the public documents, a clause about future development rights. The Bills' ownership secured the right to build a mixed-use entertainment district around the stadium: hotels, restaurants, shopping, concert venues. And here's the kicker. They can petition for an NBA arena on the same property within 10 years. Buffalo could get an NBA team using the same infrastructure, sharing the same parking, the same entertainment district. The Bills would own both franchises, double the events, double the revenue, double the political leverage, and the public money that built the football stadium. It just subsidized a private entertainment empire. Some politicians are calling it a bait and switch, others are calling it genius. But let's talk about what this really means on the field, because none of this matters if the Bills don't win. Josh Allen signed his contract extension 3 weeks after the stadium deal was approved. $258 million, fully guaranteed. Coincidence? Absolutely not. But here's what wasn't in the press release. Allen's contract includes performance bonuses tied specifically to the new stadium. If the Bills make the Super Bowl within the first 5 years in the new building, he gets a $50 million bonus. And that bonus? It's paid from the Stadium Operations Fund, which is partially funded by taxpayer money. So public dollars could directly pay a player bonus. And somehow that was legal because of how they structured the deal. When reporters asked about it, the Bills declined to comment. The governor's office said it was a private matter between the team and player. A private matter, funded partially by public money. That's the kind of creative accounting that has other teams taking notes. But let's get back to Mark Stevenson, the teacher who lost his seats. His story went viral. 4 million views, local news, national coverage, and something incredible happened. Bills Mafia started a GoFundMe, Save Mark's Seats. Goal was $50,000 to help him afford season tickets for a few more years. They raised $180,000 in 3 days from fans who are also struggling, who also can't really afford the new prices, but who refuse to let one of their own get left behind. That's the beautiful tragedy of Buffalo. They'll give their last dollar to support the team, to support each other, even when the team is owned by billionaires who could easily take care of Mark themselves. The Pegolas never offered to help, never reached out, never acknowledged the story publicly. But Bills Mafia did, because that's who they are. And that tension between billionaire ownership and working-class fans, that's the real story here. Now here's where the NFL ownership politics get really interesting. 3 owners reportedly lobbied against approving this stadium deal, not publicly, behind closed doors. Why? Because if Buffalo makes this model work, if a small market team can build a modern stadium with massive public subsidy and prove it generates enough revenue to compete, it sets a precedent. Green Bay is watching, Kansas City is watching, Cincinnati is watching. All those traditional, passionate, smaller market cities that the big market owners want to marginalize. The NFL's future was supposed to be LA, New York, Dallas, Miami. Big markets, big money. Buffalo just proved that small markets with passionate fans can compete financially in the modern era. And that threatens the power structure. Because if Green Bay can point to Buffalo and demand public funding, if Kansas City can demand a new stadium using Buffalo as the model, if every small market team suddenly has leverage, the big market advantage disappears. Jerry Jones doesn't want that. Stan Kroenke doesn't want that. Robert Kraft doesn't want that. They want small market teams to struggle, to eventually relocate to bigger markets, to consolidate the league's power in major cities. Buffalo just threw a wrench in that plan. And the vote to approve the stadium deal? It was close. 24-8. 8 owners voted against it. That's a significant minority. The NFL doesn't release who voted which way, but sources say Jones, Kroenke, and Kraft rest were all no votes. Make of that what you will. Let's talk about what happens on opening day, August 2026. The Bills have already announced it'll be a Sunday night game, national television, the whole country watching. They're planning the most elaborate opening ceremony in NFL history. Military flyover, concert, light show, the works. And here's what I think happens. They're going to retire Jim Kelly's number that night. Number 12, finally. Kelly has been battling health issues. He's a hero in Buffalo. And retiring his number in the new stadium's first game? That's the emotional moment that ties the past to the future. 70,000 fans standing outside because they couldn't get tickets. Another 62,000 packed inside. Mark Stevenson in his new seats courtesy of Bills Mafia. Josh Allen takes the field. The crowd goes absolutely insane. The noise will be deafening. And if they win that game, if Allen throws 4 touchdowns and they blow out whoever they're playing, that stadium becomes hallowed ground on day 1. But here's the pressure that comes with that. This stadium is supposed to deliver a Super Bowl within 5 years. That's the unofficial expectation. The investment, the hype, the new facilities, the competitive advantage of a modern building. If they don't deliver, if we're sitting here in 2031 and the Bills still haven't won a championship, all anyone will remember is the $1.7 billion palace where Buffalo still couldn't get it done. That's the weight Josh Allen is carrying. That's the pressure on this entire organization. 4 Super Bowl losses in the 90s. Wide right. Music City Miracle. 13 seconds against the Chiefs. The curse is real to people in Buffalo, and this stadium is supposed to break it. New building, new era, new outcome. But curses don't care about architecture. Championships require execution, and that's what makes this story so compelling. The stakes are massive. It's not just about money. It's about redemption, identity, proving that loyalty and passion still matter in a league dominated by market size. Now let me tell you about the part that keeps me up at night. The public funding model that Buffalo used, it's going to be replicated. Tennessee Titans are already pushing for a new stadium using Buffalo as precedent. $2.1 billion. Over $1 billion in public money. Cleveland Browns want a new stadium, citing the Buffalo deal. The Bills opened Pandora's box. Every team in a mid-sized market is now going to point to Buffalo and say, they got $850 million. Why can't we? And taxpayers are going to get stuck with the bill over and over again. Is that fair? Absolutely not. Should billionaires pay for their own stadiums? 100% yes. But that's not the reality we live in. In the current system, if cities don't pay, teams leave. And losing your team? That's not just about football. It's about identity. Buffalo without the Bills isn't Buffalo. It's just another Rust Belt city that people drive through on the way to Niagara Falls. The Bills give Buffalo national relevance 52 weeks a year. They drive tourism. They create jobs. They generate tax revenue. Studies show the Bills create $300 million in annual economic impact, more than double what the public subsidy costs per year. So cynically, brutally, it makes financial sense. Even if it's not fair, even if it's corporate welfare, even if regular people struggle while billionaires get richer. That's American sports in 2024. But here's what gives me hope. Bills Mafia, raising money for Mark. Communities taking care of their own. People who can barely afford tickets themselves chipping in to help a stranger keep his seats. That's the humanity that still exists in sports. The connection that transcends business and politics. And maybe that's what this $1.7 billion stadium is really about. It's not about luxury suites or LED screens or Super Bowl bids. It's about a community refusing to let go of the one thing that brings them together. The one thing that makes them matter on the national stage. Is it messy? Absolutely. Is it expensive? Ridiculously so. Is it fair? Not even close. But it's real, and it matters to millions of people. The stadium opens in August 2026. The Bills will take the field. 62,000 fans will lose their minds. And somewhere in section 218, row 8, seat 7, Mark Stevenson will be crying again. Not because he's sad, because he's home. And in Buffalo, that's worth $1.7 billion. Actually, it's worth more than that, because you can't put a price on belonging. The Buffalo Bills didn't just build a stadium. They built a statement. We're not going anywhere. We're not giving up. We're not letting the big markets win. This is our team, in our city, playing in our stadium. And if you don't like it, go jump through a table. That's the Buffalo way. And that's why this story matters more than any other stadium project in the NFL. It's not about the money. It never was. It's about what happens when a community decides they're worth fighting for, even when the odds are stacked against them, even when the math doesn't make sense, even when everyone tells them they can't compete. Buffalo looked at all of that and said, watch us, $1.7 billion. That's what it costs to refuse to be forgotten. And you know what? I respect the hell out of that.